Hi, I'm Gene Wisnan, Vice President and one of the owners of Trident Firearms Academy LLC, located here in California. Wanted to do a video today about choosing a gun for your concealed carry permit. It's a pretty daunting task, and a lot of people go through a bunch of different choices before they finally make a final decision, and then often it changes. Like me, I kind of change firearms a bit. Anyway, a little bit about me. Like I said, Vice President, one of the owners of Trident Firearms Academy, LLC. I also work as a private investigator in the criminal field. Navy veteran, as you can tell. Navy, was a Navy corpsman attached to the Marine Corps, hence the two flags. Veteran of Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and a number of other unnamed operations or lesser known operations. Anyway, let's get down to the nuts and bolts of this. For the sake of this video, I'm going to assume you have at least a little bit of experience with a firearm. If you're a brand new shooter, get some training, number one, and number two, find what works for you. So I'm assuming you've got a little bit of experience, and from that, if you don't have experience with a concealed carry permit, a carry gun, well, I'll refer to them as carry guns from now on, self-defense gun doesn't necessarily make a good carry gun. Case in point, if I really was looking for a defense firearm, this would be one of my first choices. My Kel-Tec KSG, you may have seen the other video on it. Really like the shotgun. It's proven itself to me. So this would be a better choice than a handgun. If that were unavailable, my other choice would probably be this gun, my AR-15 style rifle. It's actually a Bushmaster EA-15. Had this for, wow, 17, 18 years now. Still running strong. It's been refinished and redone. I think the only original part on this is probably the receiver, maybe a couple springs and pins, but other than that, it's been worked over a number of times. But this would probably be one of my first choices. This or my Kel-Tec, like I said. So a self-defense gun doesn't necessarily make a good carry gun. Part of it's going to be the weight of the gun, the comfort of carrying the gun, heavy weights. A lot of guys think that, a lot of people, I shouldn't necessarily say guys, but a lot of people seem to think that a good trusty 1911 work wonders. Yeah, I carry around that pound and a half on your hip for a while and see how long it lasts for you. It generally won't. That little bit of weight after 12, 14, 16, 18 hours can really get annoying. So weight becomes an issue. Size is a definite issue. You can go with something as small as the Glock 42. I know there's a number of smaller guns. This is one of the smallest that I currently have. And I do actually carry this one on occasion. Or as big as a Glock 17. Kind of like my Glocks. Both would be good choices depending on your attire, the weather, what you're able to carry, and how you carry. And that's a little bit I'll get into in a little bit. But remember, size and weight will make a difference on the carry gun for you. Also, caliber is going to be important as far as self-defense. How do I put this nicely? All handguns suck. Okay? Pure and simple. All handguns suck. The handgun is the tool you fight your way to the long gun you should have brought with you in the first place. That's a quote, or a paraphrase, maybe a quote, from Clint Smith at Thunder Ranch. It's a good thing to keep in mind. Handguns suck. 45, not a very good man stopper. 40 caliber, not a very good man stopper. 9mm, not a very good man stopper. What stops people is multiple accurate hits. That's it. That's all that matters. So let's get past this whole caliber war crap, because it's really not worth it. 380, my Glock 42 is in 380. I don't feel undergunned with this. With modern ammunition, with good, I think I carry Hornady Critical Defense most of the time in this gun. Works fine for me. 9mm, the Glock 43, another fairly small gun. Glock 43, I generally carry almost all of my 9mm. I'm carrying Spear Gold Dot Hollow Point, 124 grain plus Ps. Though I do also have a boatload somewhere of Federal 9B PLE, which is the 115 grain plus P plus. I don't feel undergunned with either of those. I do have a 45, my nice Smith & Wesson Scandium frame 1911. Commander size with a bobbed grip. Works great for me. It's been reliable. However, I still end up going with one of my Glocks. So, weight, lightweight, like I said, is going to be important to you. However, remember, with everything, it's a world of compromise. With lighter weight, exaggerated recoil. If you're recoil sensitive, that may become an issue. Capacity will affect the size. Again, you've got 17 plus 1 rounds in the Glock, and you've got 6 plus 1 in the 42. So 17 plus 1 in 9mm, or 6 plus 1 in 380. I also have my SIG P320. Again, 17 plus 1. It's a fairly large gun, and because of the capacity, it's a bit wider, a bit larger than the smaller guns. Not necessarily a bad thing, something to keep in mind. Safety is going to be important. Right now I don't have in front of me one of the slide-mounted safety levers. Most notably, or one of the easiest ones to reference, is of course the Beretta 92FS, or the M9 version for the military. It has that slide-mounted safety lever, and that can be problematic. I have big enough hands to where I can swipe that safety without much of a problem and knocking it off one-handed. If you're unable to do that, I know a lot of our students aren't able to get that thumb up there high enough to knock that safety. So what they have to do is they have to bring their sport side hand up and hit the safety. I think that's a bad idea. It needs to be quicker to fight with. You need to be able to manipulate the gun, including the safety levers, with one hand, in my opinion. And I'll tell you why. If you have to open a door, if you have to use your other hand, if you draw the weapon and have to use your other hand either to move the loved one out of the way, to open the door to get away from a threat, anything, any number of issues, to fight off an attacker, anything like that, if I have to use this hand to keep this guy from killing me, all this gun that I can't manipulate the safety on, it becomes a overpriced, poorly designed club. That's it. No better. That's all it is. So important, I think, that you be able to disengage the safeties with your dominant hand, with one hand. Yeah. Okay. How you carry is going to affect the firearm you choose. Weight will become more important here if you choose to carry a shoulder holster, which work well if you're doing long drive, or if you're driving a lot, spend a lot of time in a seated position. In my case, I periodically use a shoulder holster if I do long hours of surveillance, because it allows me to sit with my hand on my gun, my arm on the window, and nobody knows I'm reaching for my gun. If somebody sneaks up to my window, it's a lot easier to reach up and grab it. Something to keep in mind. Inside the waistband holsters may work for you. A slimmer gun in that case, such as the 1911 with that nice narrow slide and frame, will work a lot better than say the Smith & Wesson M&P. This is an M&P 40 in 40 caliber. It's a bit wider. I don't know if the video is going to allow you to see how much wider, but significantly wider. So narrow guns or thin guns will make a big difference if you're going to carry inside the waistband. Outside the waistband, barrel length may become important depending on your cover garment, how far down it goes. The longer the barrel, the more difficult it might be to conceal that end of if your cover garment doesn't come down long enough, obviously exposing the barrel. If you're okay with the barrel length, then grip length also becomes an issue. When you mount this on your belt, obviously it's going to be a lot easier to conceal this part of the gun than it is going to be to carry this gun. Notice the length of those grips make a bit of difference on concealment, printing the gun, allowing the gun to print through. Off-body carry, overall size may be a little bit more important. And when I talk about off-body carry, I'm generally referring to fanny packs, purses. For those more progressive types, I guess merces, the man purses may be important. Off-body carry, I'm really kind of in the fence of it. I'm not a big fan of it. when you need it, if it's not there, it's going to be an issue. Rather have the gun on my body under my immediate control. Ladies, one of the big things there is with purses, grocery shopping. Ladies have a bad habit of setting a purse into the child carrier section of the shopping cart, and then walking away and grabbing a carton of milk or a box of cereal. That can be a problem. You're leaving your gun unattended. Purse snatches are up here in California from grocery stores using that technique specifically. A couple solutions. One my wife gave me was taking the little seat belt type strap that's inside those carts. She loops it through the shoulder straps of her purse, and she keeps her purse zipped closed, or closed, snapped or zipped. But the safety strap prevents somebody from just walking away with it without making a little bit of a scene. Also, one of our students once told me about using a little carabiner clip that she clips to the shoulder strap and then snaps it onto the cart, and that, again, serves the same purpose. So that may be something you want to consider if you're going to go into off-body carry. Caliber, touched on it. One of the arguments, or one of the methods of figuring out what caliber you want, I've heard argued is, do you want to get into a gunfight with that caliber? No, period. Nope. I'd rather go into a gunfight with a 308, 5.56 millimeter round, 12 gauge shotgun, 50 caliber, M2 heavy barrel machine gun would always be reassuring in a gunfight. So calibers suck. Just understand, handgun calibers suck. 380 is about as small as I'm going. 25s have a tendency to be a bit less reliable. 22s, I know plenty of people who carry the 22. I'm not a big fan of it for self-defense, mostly because the terminal performance of the round, but also 22 calibers generally tend to be less reliable than any other caliber that I've regularly fire. I don't regularly fire 32 or 25, so those are exempted from that. Yeah, no caliber wars. Don't want to get into it. Biggest thing is, what are you comfortable with? If you're willing to do 45s, I got no problem with 45s. I like the 45. Obviously, I've got a couple. The 40 caliber, less of a fan of the 45 than I am of the 45, mostly because I think I'm not going to get into a caliber war with anybody. I'm just not as big a fan of it. Anybody, any shooter, any skill level, give them a 9mm, give them a 40 caliber, they will have shorter split times, time between shots, with 9mm than they do with 40. You got to hit them multiple times, hit them quickly, hit them accurately, hit them repeatedly. It's easier to do with a 9mm. More important than that, for me, because of the amount of shooting I do, 9mm is cheaper. $2 to $3 less per 50, generally, on a retail price. That's enough of a difference for me. I'll stick with 9mm. I don't feel undergunned. I've never been accused of being undergunned. It works. Modern bullet technology makes the all bullets really too comparable not to work. I would avoid full metal jacket, ball ammunition. It's like punching somebody with an ice pick. It generally is a very ineffective fight stopper. And on top of all that, whatever caliber you choose to get, practice with it. Practice will definitely help control any round, regardless of choice. All right, good. So, revolver or semi-automatic. Here's one of my revolvers that I carry periodically. It's my Smith & Wesson Airweight. 38 caliber. So do you do revolver or do you do semi-automatic? Pros and cons to both of them, so let's go a little bit into that. With the revolver, some of the pros with the revolver, the good things about a revolver is the simplicity. It's basically a point and shoot weapon. Draw the gun, click, that's it. That hard to shoot it. Ease of maintenance, but it requires maintenance. People who don't think they need to clean their revolvers are stupid. No other word for it. You're stupid if you don't think you need to clean it. Maintain your weapon. You're resting your life on it, betting your life on it, relying on it to protect you. Protect it. Maintain it. Malfunction clearance drills are a lot easier with revolvers than they are with semi-automatics. Malfunction clearance drills generally with a revolver. Get a click instead of a bang, pull the trigger again. If you get 5 clicks in a 5-shot revolver, reload. That's it. Malfunction clearance drill on a revolver. Firing from concealment is a benefit over the revolver. If you're carrying a pocket, there's no slide to induce a malfunction. There's no slide movement. I can push up against the front of the cloth and the front of the pocket, the front of the clothing, whatever it is, and I can still pull the trigger and the gun will go bang. With the semi-automatic, if I were to do the same thing, push it out of battery, won't go click. So you can shoot with your hand on the back of it. Different story. But on a revolver, firing from concealment is a benefit for the gun if you carry a lot of pocket carry. By the way, pocket carry, I didn't cover that. If you're going to carry in your pocket, size is definitely going to be make a difference. Carrying this gun in your pocket is a heck of a lot easier than carrying this gun, unless you got really big pockets. Cons, bad things about a revolver: low ammo capacity, 5 rounds. That can be argued that this only has 6 plus 1, so it's got 7. So is it really that much of a detriment as far as having that few rounds? It's low capacity, general problem. Longer reloading time. Jerry Micklick aside, most people are going to be slower to reload revolvers than they are in semi-automatics. Even with speed strips, moon clips, speed loaders, they're still going to be slower to reload than a semi-automatic. They do require less maintenance, sort of. I already covered that a little bit, than semi-automatics, but I think the maintenance becomes at least as important. The other downside to it, if you will, and I say this kind of tongue-in-cheek, is they're not as tactical. They're not as cool to most people. Old-timers disagree with that, and I kind of disagree with it too. I have no issue with this gun. But it's not as cool for some people. So let's get into the semi-automatics. Advantage of a semi-automatic, higher capacity. This one, like I said, 17-round magazine plus 1 in the chamber gives me an 18-round total capacity on this one. On my Glock, I do have plus 2 extensions on the magazines, so I actually get 19 plus 1, so 20 rounds, but I generally carry those as my reloads, which, by the way, are much quicker and much easier to reload a semi-automatic. I mean, it's that quick. A little bit easier than, and I just did 3 reloads and I did on my revolver. Generally a lower bore axis, meaning the gun rests closer to the center line of your arm, thereby controlling recoil slightly better. One of the things, if you properly grip a revolver, you're actually get very low bore axis. The problem is you're up over top of the gun, uncomfortable for some and hard to learn for others. Accessories. Semi-automatics generally have a lot more accessories than revolvers. With this gun, you can put a little red dot sight on the back. You get night sights for it, which I'd expect you to get on your revolver as well. You can modify the grip like I've done on this one. You can put a laser light combo on the front. All sorts of things you can do with a semi-automatic accessory-wise. And they're cool. They look cool, which, again, I say that tongue-in-cheek. It's not a big issue. Maybe important to some shallow people. Now the bad things about a semi-automatic. More prone to malfunctions, sort of. Good modern handguns. Again, if equally maintained, I don't think you're going to have an issue either way. A maintained revolver, a maintained semi-automatic, they're both going to work when they need to, if you do your part. More complicated malfunction clearance drills, tap, rack, reassess, double feeds, which are I don't say common, but can't happen. More obviously can happen. You got to lock the slide to the rear, rip the magazine out, rack repeatedly, and then reload the gun. Generally a fight-stopping malfunction. Yeah, I know the Glock malfunction. The Glock clearance drill, just hold the mag release, rack repeatedly, everything clears itself, and reload. The lock, rip, rack, reload mantra deals with all handguns, including Glocks, though Glocks generally don't need it. Less forgiving of improper grip. With a semi-automatic, if you give it a little space in here, if you limp wrist it, so to say, you steal the energy from the slide recoiling, and you're going to induce malfunctions. If you don't get a good grip on the rear of the gun, you're going to induce malfunctions, may hurt yourself. So, less forgiving of an improper grip. More moving parts. Obviously, a lot more moving parts than most semi-automatics, and again, Glock guys, don't jump all over me about that. Most semi-automatics, you're going to have a lot more moving parts, thereby increasing your likelihood of mechanical failure. Unlikely properly maintained, however, odds, obviously, you're going to have more. General rule for choosing a concealed carry gun, I would stay away from single action guns, cowboy style guns. This is an old Colt New Frontier 22 single action, but to make my point, one of the reasons I avoid single action revolvers, obviously reloading issue. Also, if I have to draw the gun, get ready for a fight, I'm going to have to cock the hammer back to prepare for the fight. If challenge commands works and I don't have to take a shot, under stress, I'm going to be sweaty, I'm going to be nervous, my hands are going to be shaking. The only way to safely lower the hammer on this gun is to pull the trigger while you're doing it. Sure, you can stick your finger in here and hurt yourself, but generally, most cowboy action shooters will tell you it's not that hard to do. Under stress, I've seen it happen. When you go to lower that round and it slips out of your hand and the round goes off, not a good day, especially if the guy surrendered. Derringers, same thing. Generally, you're going to be working from a single action. Actually, they will be. Wow, my voice. They will be single action, which will be a part of a problem. On top of which, you got 2 barrels, 2 bullets, 2 shots. If we thought the ammo capacity on a revolver was bad, think about it going into a fight with a Derringer. I would also avoid large calibers such as 44 Magnum, 50 caliber, 500 mag, things like that. Reason I'd stay away from those for the most part is because they keep going. They don't stop, in the likelihood of a single target absorbing all the energy out of one of those rounds is pretty slim. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It will hit your target and everybody behind it for ways. So generally avoid those. One of the other things I see periodically in our classes is people not trusting their gun and wanting to carry with an empty chamber. The argument is they can always do the Israeli reload or Israeli load, where they draw the gun, come up, and they cycle the action as they come up on target. It works. I've seen some Israelis do it very fast, very quickly, very efficiently. I don't like it. I think it's again, you want to be able to get into the fight right away with your handgun. You want to be able to get that safety out of there, engage your target, and fight. If I gotta just give a distraction strike, move a loved one out of the way, open a door, use anything with my sport side hand, this becomes an overpriced, poorly designed club. I knew you guys were saying that. Sure, you can do the injured officer drills and cycle a slide on your belt. You can run it on your boot. You can do all sorts of fun and neat things with it. It's slow. It takes you out of the fight, in my opinion, way too long. I'm not a big fan of empty chamber. Holster selection. Wow. That's actually going to be a whole nother video. I want to cover a bit into selecting holsters. There's way too many choices. I'll give you a little tip on it though. You will buy a lot of holsters. It'll be the latest, greatest, and it'll work forever because it's the best ever made. And 2 weeks later, you'll find something wrong with it and buy another one. It's what happens. An experienced gunner will tell you the same thing. We generally have, in my case, laundry baskets full of old holsters that, for whatever reason, aren't as good as they used to be. This is one that we make currently that I'm really happy with. It allows me to adjust the cant. I can make it cross draw. I can make it strong side. I can make it forward tilt, FBI cant, so to say. I can do abdominal carry, cross draw, like I said. So I like this design. I like the Kydex holsters. I love my leather holsters too, guys, so don't think I'm discriminating against leather. I think leather is a great byproduct from delicious meal. So I like the leather. It's just I've become more of a fan of Kydex, and I think it is at least as effective and probably more so than leather, for a number of reasons that I will definitely get into in our next video about holster selections. Obviously, holsters are going to matter, depend on your method of carry, how you plan on carrying, a whole nother video. So that's pretty much it as far as advice, and as you can tell, I didn't give you really any advice. It's a personal choice. If you have the opportunity, I would strongly suggest before you buy a gun for concealed carry, go shoot it a bit. Go to a shooting range where you can rent various handguns, try out different types, different calibers, makes, models. Try them out, see what works for you, see what doesn't work for you. What I find myself carrying more now than anything else is either as a backup gun or an ankle gun. If I can't carry a different one, it'll be my Glock 42. Though I will admit I have taken dropping this into a pocket holster and carrying it in my pocket a number of times. It's small, convenient, slim. It works. So I generally carry either my Glock 42 or my M&P 40. Not a big fan of the 40 caliber, like I said. However, it's what I have. I want to get a 9mm conversion for it because I'm cheap. But I like the gun. It's a comfortable gun to carry. It's a comfortable gun I like the magazine capacity. I like the grip, the ergonomics of the gun. It's reliable as I could ever ask it to be. And it's accurate. So I carry this one periodically. I also carry a Glock 19 periodically. It's reliable as hell. It's very comfortable to carry. After I've modified the grip. Very comfortable to carry, very comfortable to shoot, very accurate, very, 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 very reliable. And then, of course, there's the latest, greatest, my SIG P320. You may have seen the video on it. Again, love the gun. Comfortable as all get out. So this one gets a lot of carry time with me because I like it. And I like changing guns. I want to be able to carry whatever I want to carry when I carry. So I carry various guns, but those are the 4 guns that I generally tend to carry the most. The 3 bigger ones, the Glock 19, the M&P, and the SIG 320. Those kind of get switched out. The 42, tiny little baby Glock. When I can't carry a bigger gun, or I'm just lazy. When I'm lazy. Anyway. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed it. Check out some of the show notes down there. I'll have a couple links in there, and I want you to click on, make people let them know where you heard about them. Like us on Facebook. We have a page on Facebook. We have periodic updates on there. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, and like our video, if you wouldn't mind. Other than that, remember, hope is not a strategy.